The jet screamed across the sky, slicing through clouds heavy with winter. Lieutenant Chris Burnett sat strapped into the cockpit, eyes scanning the endless gray below. Flying was the only time he felt fully alive anymore. Everything else felt slow, restrained, buried under rules and politics. War was happening beneath him, and yet he was not allowed to touch it. Beside him, Lieutenant Jeremy Stackhouse focused on the controls, calm and precise. He had been Burnett's mentor, the kind of pilot who believed discipline mattered more than impulse. Burnett respected him, even if he struggled to share his patience. The mission was supposed to be routine. A reconnaissance flight over Bosnia, monitoring ceasefire violations as peace talks dragged on. No combat. No engagement. Just eyes in the sky. Burnett hated that part most. He had trained to fight, not to watch. They flew low, clouds breaking apart to reveal snow-covered mountains and frozen forests. The land looked quiet, deceptively peaceful. Burnett adjusted the camera system, capturing images of bridges, roads, and troop movements. Most of it looked abandoned. Then something caught his eye. "What's that?" Burnett asked, zooming in. Stackhouse leaned closer. On the screen, several vehicles were moving through a restricted zone. Not peacekeeping forces. Not civilians. Military trucks, hidden where they should not be. "That's outside the agreed corridor," Burnett said. "They're hiding something." Stackhouse hesitated. Orders were clear. Do not provoke. Do not investigate further. But the images mattered. Evidence mattered. "Let's get a closer look," Stackhouse finally said. They descended slightly, cameras rolling. As the image sharpened, Burnett's stomach tightened. What they saw was worse than illegal movement. Bodies. Mass graves. Proof of war crimes buried under the snow. Then the warning alarms screamed. A missile streaked past the wing, missing by meters. Burnett's heart slammed into his chest as another warning tee. The night stretched endlessly, cold sinking deep into Burnett's bones. Snow creaked beneath every careful step, forcing him to move slowly despite the danger. He followed the survival training drilled into him years earlier, staying low, changing direction often, never moving in a straight line for too long. Every sound felt amplified. Every shadow looked like a soldier. The radio crackled again, weak but alive. Voices from the carrier cut in and out, distorted by terrain and distance. Burnett pressed the receiver close to his ear, straining to hear. "Burnett, stay on the move. Enemy patrols are converging on your last known position." He almost laughed at that. They had been converging since the moment he hit the ground. Burnett moved downhill toward a frozen river, knowing water could mask his tracks. He slid down a steep embankment, landing hard and biting back a groan. His legs screamed in pain, but he forced himself up, stepping onto the ice with care. It cracked softly beneath his weight, sending panic through him, but it held. He crossed quickly and disappeared into the trees on the far side, breaking branches deliberately to confuse anyone tracking him. He had no illusions about outsmarting trained soldiers forever. All he needed was time. Miles away, aboard the aircraft carrier, Admiral Reigart watched the situation unfold with growing frustration. Burnett's plane should never have been shot down. The ceasefire was fragile, and any aggressive move risked collapsing the peace talks entirely. Command wanted restraint. Burnett wanted survival. Those goals were no longer aligned. Reigart slammed his fist lightly against the table. "He's still out there," he said. "We don't leave our people behind." The reply from higher command was calm and infuriating. "We can't risk an international incident. If we move openly, the talks collapse." Reigart understood the politics. He just did not accept them. Back in the forest, Burnett spotted lights through the trees. A small morning came slowly, pale light filtering through broken clouds. Burnett forced himself back on his feet, muscles stiff and aching. The borrowed coat helped, but exhaustion weighed on him like armor he could not remove. He moved before the light fully exposed him, leaving the farmhouse behind and heading south, guided more by instinct than any clear landmark. The radio crackled again, clearer this time. "Burnett, this is the carrier. Do you copy?" He pressed the button with shaking fingers. "I'm here." Relief carried through the static, then hesitation. The voice lowered. "Command is still debating extraction. You need to stay alive. That's the priority." Burnett almost laughed. "That's good to hear," he muttered, though bitterness crept into his tone. He was no longer a pilot. He was a problem that needed careful handling. Not far away, Colonel Reigart listened to the same transmission, his jaw tight. He knew exactly what was happening. Burnett's survival threatened to expose the mass graves, proof that would destroy the illusion of peace being negotiated. The enemy wanted Burnett dead. Some allies wanted him quiet. Reigart wanted him home. In the forest, Burnett spotted movement ahead. He dropped to one knee, scanning through branches. A group of soldiers advanced carefully, spreading out, methodical. These were not panicked searchers anymore. This was a hunt. Burnett doubled back, using a shallow ravine to mask his movement. His leg protested with every step. Blood had soaked into the bandage hours earlier, and dizziness crept in at the edges of his vision. He focused on simple goals. Breathe. Move. Hide. By midday, he reached a wide open field bordered by trees. Crossing it would be dangerous, but going around would cost time he did not have. He waited, counting heartbeats, then ran. Halfway across, shots rang out. Dirt kicked up around him. Burnett dove, rolling hard, pain exploding through his shoulder. He returned fire without looking, then crawled, dragging. The sky darkened again as clouds rolled in, heavy with snow. Burnett moved through the rocky hills with fading strength, each step slower than the last. His body felt hollow, running on will alone. He could hear pursuit in the distance, not constant anymore, but deliberate. They were confident now. They believed time was on their side. The radio crackled one last time. Reigart's voice came through, firm and unmistakable. "Burnett, listen carefully. We're launching a rescue. This is not authorized." Burnett stopped walking. He leaned against a rock, eyes closed, letting the words sink in. "You're risking a lot," he said quietly. Reigart did not hesitate. "So did you." Burnett gave coordinates as best he could, using landmarks he barely recognized. Snow began to fall harder, visibility dropping fast. He pushed forward again, forcing himself toward a small valley that offered some cover. The sound of helicopters would be his only warning. The enemy closed in before that could happen. Gunfire erupted from the trees ahead. Burnett dove behind a boulder as bullets sparked off stone. He fired back, conserving every round. The Serbian officer stepped into view, calm and unhurried, flanked by armed men. "This ends now," the officer called out in English. "You don't belong here." Burnett pressed his back to the rock, breathing hard. He thought of Stackhouse. Of the mass grave. Of how easily truth could be buried if no one survived to tell it. He made a decision. Burnett broke cover and ran straight toward the valley, drawing fire as he went. Pain flared as a bullet grazed his side, but he stayed on his feet. Behind him, the soldiers followed, shouting, firing wildly. Then the sound came. Helicopter rotors thundered through the air, growing louder by the second. NATO aircraft burst through the clouds, flares igniting the sky. The valley erupted into chaos. Soldiers scattered as missiles struck vehicles and positions with precise force. Burnett collapsed to his knees as Frendel.